Her friend was Eric, and based on their interactions, those lunch dates were much more than quick sandwiches and small talk. A surge of nausea and anger flooded me, followed by an overwhelming wave of humiliation. My wife Laura was having an affair. And it wasn't just some brief fling. These weren't mere texts of fleeting physical attraction. They were dripping with the kind of emotional intimacy that used to be ours. The connection I thought we still shared. For an entire week, I kept the painful truth locked inside, unable to decide what to do. Confront her, pack my bags, leave, beg her to explain? None of those felt right. Instead, I did something I'd never done before. I plotted. Quietly, methodically, and with cold precision, I devised my plan. It started with research, diving through social media like a rabbit hole. I discovered Eric was a colleague of hers, a sales rep for some company she'd worked with on a project. I found his wife, Christine, on Facebook, a petite brunette with warm eyes and 2 young children under 5. My heart broke for her, but the sympathy didn't stop me. I couldn't just sit back anymore. I moved forward, gathering pieces of the puzzle faster than I expected. I hired a private investigator named Frank, rough, grizzled, with a bulldog face and a no-nonsense attitude. The evidence he brought back was indisputable. Photographs of Eric and Laura leaving a hotel together, their arms brushing, faces lit up with laughter. And there, captured in grainy clarity, was a shot of them kissing in her car. Hard, undeniable proof. I couldn't let it rest there. I had to take the next step. I reached out to Christine with a simple, heartbreaking message. Hello, Christine. It will be difficult to hear, but I think your husband Eric is having an affair with my wife Laura. I've attached some pictures to confirm. I'm sorry to have to break this to you, but I wanted Laura to understand the consequences of her actions, the betrayal she's caused. Christine's reply came an hour later. Thank you for telling me. The ball was rolling now, and I no longer had control over where it would go. I invited Laura to lunch, hoping she wouldn't suspect anything. Her voice had a certain relief to it when she agreed, as though my sudden attentiveness meant I suspected nothing. Little did she know, it was the calm before the storm. The day of the lunch, I prepared the table with meticulous care. A crisp white tablecloth, our finest silverware, and 2 glasses of wine. At first glance, it might have seemed like an attempt to rekindle the romance. But beneath it all, the centerpiece wasn't flowers. It was a manila envelope filled with every damning piece of evidence Frank had gathered. When Laura walked in, smiling and flushed from her supposed lunch date, she froze when she saw the table. Her eyes shifted nervously between the envelope and me. What's this? She asked, her voice shaking. I didn't answer. I simply gestured for her to sit. Reluctantly she did. Her smile was gone, replaced with a look of unease. I slid the envelope across the table. Open it, I said, my voice steady, almost calm. She hesitated, but eventually, her fingers opened the envelope. The color drained from her face as she flipped through the pictures and texts, each one a damning reminder of her betrayal. I can explain, she stammered, but her words were hollow, lacking any real conviction. I leaned back in my chair and spoke in a low, controlled voice. You've been deceiving me for months, treating our marriage as disposable while having an affair with a married man. Her eyes welled with tears, and she choked out a weak, Don't show that. But I didn't stop. I pressed further. So what is it, Laura? What's really going on? My tone was firm, insistent. Her eyes filled with tears as she broke down, muttering meaningless apologies. But I couldn't focus on that. I allowed her to wallow in the mess she'd made. When she finally looked up, her face stained with tears, I dropped the next bombshell. I told Christine everything. You've destroyed not just one family but 2. Her eyes widened in shock and horror as the reality set in. She knows everything just like me. And at that precise moment, there was a knock on the door. Laura's head snapped toward the sound, her face a twisted mixture of dread and disbelief. I opened the door, revealing Christine. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with fury. Behind her stood Eric, looking like the coward he truly was. Laura's face drained of color. What is this? She whispered. I replied coldly, closure. What followed was chaos. Christine didn't hold back. She unleashed years of pent-up anger on Eric, who stood there like a fool, stuttering and fumbling with his words. Laura tried to step in, But Christine turned on her with the ferocity of a lion. "Don't you dare try to defend this. You're selfish and deceitful." Eric attempted to justify himself, babbling about feeling undervalued at home, but I interrupted him with a sharp laugh. "Really? You have a woman at home who would sacrifice everything for you, and this is how you repay her?" By the time Laura and Eric stood before us, they were shattered, mere remnants of the people they had once been. Christine and I exchanged a look, silent, but understanding. We had both become stronger through the chaos. The fallout came quickly. That evening, Laura packed her things and left. The next day, Christine followed suit. I filed for divorce. It wasn't easy. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, and mornings when the weight of the day felt unbearable. But over time, the anger faded, replaced by a quiet determination to rebuild my life. I sought therapy, started running, and reconnected with old friends. A year later, I was happier than I had ever been. Eric lost his job when Christine sent the evidence to his employer, and Laura's reputation took a nosedive as word of the affair spread among our families and friends. The two of them had no one to blame but themselves. From what I've heard, Laura and Eric's relationship didn't last. The guilt was too much for them to carry. While revenge may not always be the best path, sometimes it can ignite the fire that helps us reclaim our strength. And that, in the end, is exactly what happened to me.